My son is Jorge. He's Jorge Jr. He's in the Army. He's a staff sergeant. And
Okay.
he's doing real good.
Good.
Oh, we're on YouTube.
We're on YouTube now? Hello, everybody. Okay, so which camera is for YouTube?
This one.
That one right there?
Yeah, and then that one's over there.
Okay. So we're live on YouTube right now. Thank you so much. We're kind of starting early. We're going to start the official show in just a few minutes. And we're very excited. We have Trevor Loudon on. And as a lot of you know that follow us, he's an author, a speaker. He's from New Zealand. And I wish I could do an accent because I love that accent.
We don't have an accent.
You don't have an accent. We have
No,
an
you have an accent. Well, some people say we have a southern accent.
A southern accent?
Yeah, very southern.
Oh, I love that accent. I think it's awesome. I remember I met a guy from New York one time when I was in high school, and he had very thick New York accent. And he said, "You have a southwestern accent." Okay.
Okay. Well, it's the only reason my wife married me, so she tells me.
Oh, see, there you go. I can believe that. She fell in love with your accent. Now, is she traveling with you?
No, she's back in Florida.
Oh, nice. So where are you mostly these days? You're in the States a lot?
Well, yeah, I live permanently in the States. I've got a green card. We live north of Florida on the coast. And yeah, but I've started traveling again the last month, but obviously there was a lockdown for a while. So, you know, I had March, April, May fully booked, and it all collapsed. But then I've had a lot of speeches in the last few weeks.
Oh, I bet. So is it getting kind of more back to normal as far as your traveling?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Because what a pain. Because I know that, well, you've probably been all over the world, I'm sure.
Not so much. I've been to the States, I've been to Canada, Australia, Germany for a day, Britain for 3 days, Paris for 3 days, Mexico for an afternoon. So I know I haven't been all over the world, but I have been all over the United States.
So where are people a little bit more politically we follow politics, but I don't know how accurately informed we are.
Look, I would say the conservatives in Arizona are pretty up there.
Yeah.
You know, you get some states, Oklahoma, the people there are very, very, very conservative, very aware. But, Arizona's up there, right up in the top echelon.
Are we still?
Yep.
That's good. And I always wonder is, she's got the wrong address. If that's, we're such a conservative state, but I used to work at KFYI. I was a producer, and we had a fantastic, phenomenal team of local talk radio guys that were very smart, and they were all conservative. Barry Young, who actually was a program director at one time, he had a big, hard libertarian bent, but very, very smart, and they always were very engaging. And I always kind of wondered if that kind of gave us the base in Phoenix for that. Forgive me, I just want to give this gal some information here, and then we can start like a little show. I think we could just start it. Bye. You're going to really enjoy the Latinos for Trump. It's a very nice center, and
Very good.
they might get they could get as much as
hospitable.
100 people there, huh, George?
Yeah, well, I've spoken to Latinos for Trump in Texas and a couple of other places. So.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Are they pretty good? Are they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How about there?
So my boss, who is he's a lobbyist at the state level, and he's a political pundit for a lot of TV, but he was talking to a pretty prominent Democrat, and the guy was saying, he goes, Trump has done a really good job courting the Latino vote, and I really think he has. There's a lot of Latinos.
Look, I think that's going to figure pretty highly this state. It's going to figure in Nevada, Texas, quite a few places. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's done very well on the Latino vote. And that's something the Democrats thought they had locked up, and they don't.
And they want to try to deny it, but you just go out in the community and you talk to people, and I hear so many people. Even I was at my hair salon the other day, and the other hairdresser, I wasn't sure where she stood politically, and just out of the blue, she came out and she was telling her two gals, older ladies that were waiting, she says, "I'm going to vote for Trump." And they're like, "Oh, no, I can't vote for Trump. He doesn't do anything." So I'm like sitting with my hair all getting processed. Trump 2020, baby. What do you need to know about him? I got stuff right here. It was awesome. It was awesome. Do you think we should start early, George? What do you think?
Yeah, we can start early.
All right. You tell.
You close this door?
Yeah. Would you tell Julian that whenever he wants to start, we're ready to fire. Do that. So what this is, we are on YouTube through our The Chips and Salsa Show channel, and then he's on his app, Central City Radio, and then we broadcast on Facebook.
Okay.
So we were doing really good. We were averaging up to 1,000 views on Facebook, but then Facebook started going after us.
Yeah. I know. They're going after everybody I know, basically.
And do you do any regular podcasts or anything? Or you?
No, I do a lot of other people's podcasts.
Yeah.
But I don't do one of my own, though I am considering starting one up after the election.
Oh, you
It's a
should.
possibility, yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Now, are you familiar with the gentleman, Jeff Prather?
No.
So, Jeff Prather, he's a Fast and Furious whistleblower.
Oh, yeah.
You probably know who.
Oh, my wife did huge amounts of research on that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she's
knows
been in
about him.
She's been in communication with him.
So he had a show in Tucson, and it was doing very well. I think he was on there for about a year, but they canceled his show. So now he does a YouTube podcast, and it's doing really well. I just listened to it the other day, and he had 1,000 views up there on the YouTube, so it was pretty good. But I started listening to him a few years ago, and I thought, this guy's really out there. But then everything he would say, because he still had connections from within, boom, it would happen. So he's a really good guy to listen to. All right, so what we'll do, we're going to start out, we'll probably do a little bit of housekeeping for George and I. Now, next week is when you are going to start doing the elections, right?
Yeah, next Tuesday or Wednesday we'll start 27 days.
And we'll just spend like a minute on that, Trevor, and then we'll go right to you
Yeah, because
so we can talk to
I
you.
could talk a little bit about that.
Okay, yeah.
And I have the locations. Somebody was asking me what the locations for the early voting, and I have them now. There's
Good.
only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 locations open. 2, 4, 6, 7 locations open for 27 days, and then they'll go 14 days, 7 days, and 2 days, and then 27 days, 14 days, 7 days, 2 days, and then election day. All the other centers open up. I think I have 4 locations. 1, 2, 3, 4 locations.
Mic check. All right, can you hear me now? Do you want me to get it closer? Come a little bit closer now.
Testing.
Okay, how's that? Is that good? All right. So George works for elections. He's a troubleshooter. And I don't know if we have our Maricopa County recorder. We're trying to boot him out. He's a Democrat. And we're on YouTube. So I don't know if I'm going to get you in trouble. So maybe I shouldn't talk about that.
She didn't mean that.
Didn't mean that. Yeah, I did. Well, you didn't. I did. What's the latest? Because one of the things that he wanted to do, Trevor, is the mail-in ballot. He said, well, you know what? If you make a mistake on your mail-in ballot, that's
I was
okay.
just hearing about
just
this
cross it
morning.
out. Yeah. So they overruled him. But, man.
So what's this rumor I'm hearing that we got to start early?
Well, we're thinking we can start early because we got to let him go at 4:30 so he can go over to the Latinos for Trump Center.
Well, you know that the news break is at 5. So you tell me to just blow off the news break?
Yeah.
Well,
Or
what do you
any other
think?
programming?
What do you think? Just so we can have some more time with Trevor.
Well, we just blow through a commercial break. We'll just go through.
Okay.
We just go straight to 28. You want to do that?
All right. And then we'll let him go at 28. That's when we have a commercial break.
Or just cut the. You know what? Let me just cut it because usually I do like 3 minutes. Let's cut it to 1.
Okay.
We'll cut it to 1. I'll play Janazad or whatever the other one, and then come back at 11, and then 1, 12. Come back around 13 to 28.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, all that I worry about is I want to give him time to get to the Latinos for Trump Center. So if we can get him released close to 4:30ish,
Okay.
that should be fine.
I have friends that are wanting to tune in. Do they go to the Chips and Salsa page?
Yes, they can do it from there or Talk Central.
Talk Central.
Do
Yep.
that. And please remember to share that, Joanne. Right on.
Should I start the Facebook on our page?
Do you want to do one from there or just share it from the Talk Central?
I can share it from Talk Central, but I mean, I'm prepared to do it from our page if I.
What do you think?
The more the merrier.
Maybe Talk Central because he's going to have that a better quality mic'd in.
Yeah.
And if we do it just from the phone, sometimes the sound isn't
Okay.
good.
Well,
With
if we
my
need to
soft
turn it
little
on-
voice.
Well, we need to turn it on for any reason. I can just
That's a good backup.
just like this one's a backup to his.
Oh, Steve Palmer said, the week is crazy. He's been at the VA hospital. He has to go back tomorrow. Friday, he has his surgery.
So is he coming today or not?
No, it doesn't look like it.
Okay. Okey-dokey.
But he's getting some good medical care, so that's good. It's our friend Steve. He's a veteran. He kind of comes in and helps us.
Yeah,
sometimes.
he's the expert on video.
This
Okay.
here, and then I want to have this right here so I can hold it up. Awesome. Good. How long have you been doing this kind of work, Trevor? Seems like all your life.
Oh, look, since about 2011, about 9 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So a little shorter than I thought it was. What
yeah.
were you doing?
Well, I was doing stuff in New Zealand before that, but the first time I came to the States was 2008, but I didn't start talking until about 2011. You know, doing proper, you know, interviews and talks and that sort of thing. Before that, it was mainly just coming for research.
Now, do all your conservative guys that you've been on their shows before, are they still friendly to you, or have any shunned you, like any Fox guys that are telling you, I can't
Well,
have you on or what?
I've never really been on Fox, you know.
Oh, you haven't?
No, like I was supposed to go on Sean Hannity one day, but they cancelled it the morning of. I think I'm a little bit too out there for Fox. You know,
They're
Fox,
getting really snippety now, aren't they?
Yeah, look, they're just getting more left wing all the time.
It's
you
too
know.
bad.
Yeah, it is.
Tucker's still really good, though.
Tucker's good. Sean Hannity's okay if he can, as long as he doesn't talk over you, which he always
He
does.
talks so much. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, there's a few, but Fox it's Republican at best. It's not really conservative, you know. Except
That's a
for
very
Tucker.
good way to describe it. You're right.
Yeah.
What do you think about the One American News, Right Side Broadcasting?
Yeah, Run American News is good. They've played one of my documentaries in Antifa dozens of times. Yeah, they're good. I've been on their show some of their shows a couple of times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're good. Newsmax, there's a few good ones coming up.
We've
But
been
you know, Fox is the only major one that's sort of at least partially on our side. So, and we are losing that. So we've got to pick up the slack somehow. But then you got Mark Levin, you've got Glenn Beck, you've got still lots of other ones out there.
Yeah, that's true. We've been trying to watch Newsmax more because we can get on our cable channel, and they've got some really good programs on there. And what I like about them, you'll get an email. 2 minutes, okay. You'll get an email, and it'll tell you who's going to be on. So then that way I can record it. But there's so much information out there, and man, it's craziness.
Well, we're living in crazy times. There's no question about that.
Absolutely. It's stressful. Sometimes I just have to turn it off, say, okay, I'm going to watch the Andy Griffith Show or something.
Yeah,
some goofy.
just get a little bit of sanity. Well, I live right on the ocean. I can just go down to my dock and just fish for half an hour or an hour,
That's
which
nice.
is good.
So are you...
Commies.
All commies, every one of them. Every single one of them.
Wow.
They would like to take over
And
this country. I mean,
I
that-
think
you
I
can tell.
recognize everyone except for... Who's this guy right here?
That's Little Pete.
Oh, that's
Blue-
Buttigieg?
Blue
Yeah,
Buttigieg.
yeah. His face looks
Cute.
fat there.
You know, well, that's cute little Pete.
Oh, that is Pete Buttigieg, yeah.
Little Pete.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're familiar, I don't know, with James T. Harris. He's our morning
a
talk
nice
show host here.
visual.
Yeah, well, I've
He
been on
calls
with him
him
before.
Buttigieg, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Booty.
nice visual you got there. That's good.
What's that?
That's a nice visual you got there. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Put them all in there.
Yeah.
Commies.
So we have...
You need Soros in there too in the back.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't standing. Well, yeah, in the background, yeah.
He's not elected to office. He just gets
No.
everybody elected.
Yeah.
Soros needs to be standing like back there. He's the
Yeah.
puppeteer.
Well, he's part of it. You know, I think it goes a lot deeper.
Yeah.
You know, I think Soros is part of the chain, but I think it goes right back to Moscow and Beijing. That's where it really goes.
You talk about that in the book?
A little bit. I do, certainly in my movies.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I talk a little bit about those connections. Definitely Joe Biden. He goes back to Moscow.
Wow.
But no, they always try to blame everybody else.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever they say, they're guilty of.
Whatever they tell you you're doing, that's what they're doing. That's Leninism. That's Alinsky.
Well, anytime that you're in town, we'd love to talk to you. I mean, I know that. And we can also do stuff by phone now. So
Yeah, well, I'm always up for phone interviews. I do them all the
Awesome.
time. So,
that's
you
great.
just contact me through Brad. I don't have any cards on me now. I've run out.
Yeah, he's my connection.
Yep.
I'm so glad he's doing well. He's lost weight. I'm like,
He
man, you
has.
lost some weight. But he said he's good with that.
Yeah, yes, he still looks good though. Still
Yeah.
looks healthy. You wouldn't know he was sick to look at him.
I know, that's true. And his hair's still good. He was saying he lost his hair, but
You
still have
if
a
you
lot
look
of
closer,
hair.
It's a little bit thinner than it was.
a
but
little
it's still,
thinner. You still
it's
have
still
the
pretty
hair.
impressive.
Have you seen the
for a young
YouTube
fella.
video he did about hair? About hair? It's hilarious. It's hair-hilarious.
Hilarious?
Hair-hilarious. Okay, I think we're coming up here real soon. Real soon. This Latino's gonna vote for Trump. And welcome to another edition of the Chips and Salsa Show. We're here every Tuesday afternoon at 4 p.m. I am Alice Lara with my partner in radio crime.
Don Jorge El Alacran.
And we exist because we want you to know we are brown, but we are Republicans. We are unapologetically very conservative ones. We're glad you tuned in, Chipsters, because this is going to be a fantastic show. Those of you that are watching can see we have the magnificent Trevor Loudon that we're going to talk to in just a few minutes. He's a New Zealand author, speaker, political activist, and blogger. I just wanted to look here because I didn't want to miss stuff. We could spend hours talking to him. But first, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping. Welcome, Trevor. Thank you so much.
Look, it's great to be on. Thanks very much, Alice, and thanks, Jorge. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. And we're going to hold up the book too while we talk. Just a few announcements. I want to wish a happy birthday to my sister-in-law, Alicia. Her birthday's coming up on the 5th. Woohoo! Also, if you are in the South Phoenix area or even just the Phoenix area, tonight at 5 p.m. you can also go to the Latinos for Trump Center at 2070 East Baseline. Trevor's going to be there speaking. He'll have his books and other things to sell and autograph for you. So you don't want to miss that. If you miss a little bit of him here, you can catch him there. And George, you had some announcements, right?
I
thought
yes.
you did.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I wanted to remind everybody that early voting starts next week. They're still looking for poll workers to help the early voting locations. There are 27 days, 14 days, 7 days, 2 days, and election day. Each day that is not election day is approximately 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and they don't have set time, so it's basically from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Election day is always from 5:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. The last person in line at 8 p.m. gets to vote. They like you to respond as soon as possible if you like to be a poll worker, and it's a paid position. And the phone number you can call is 602-506-3407. They have, as a condition of employment, poll workers need to wear a mask at all times while the voter is present inside.
And you can always contact George for any more information as well. So please do.
Yeah.
And on that, for the month of October, George is not going to be here on Tuesday.
Right.
He'll be here in spirit because he'll be working. But that's okay because he'll be back in November and he'll be out there doing political stuff. So he'll be still around. He'll be in your political dreams. So let's get to our guest right away. And I want to let you know we're going to keep Trevor till about 4:30ish because we got to let him hop over to the Latinos for Trump Center. Again, that's at 2070 East Baseline. So if there's somebody out there who doesn't know who Trevor Loudon is, well, you're going to now, and you're going to be happy you did. He is a New Zealand author, speaker, political activist, and blogger. I'm just taking this. I cheated from Wikipedia. Correct me if I got anything wrong here. Loudon is the author of 3 self-published books on U.S. politics and featured in a 2016 documentary titled Enemies Within. He also writes for the Epic Times, Movies, America Under Siege, Antifa. He's got a fantastic book, and oh my goodness, we're going to try to hit as much as we can today. So hang on tight because here we go. Trevor, if you want to say anything else about your background to our audience that I missed, please do.
No, look, that's perfectly fine, Alice.
Okay,
Just
fantastic.
let my words do the speaking.
Can we start with White House Reds?
Sure.
Because I'm also going, and I want to give a shout out too to Brad Zinn. My good friend Brad Zinn, he hooked me up here. He hooked us up. He connected us with Trevor. So thank you, Brad, very much. And White House Reds. So one thing on the book, on the cover of this book, there are 10 very familiar Democrat politicians. And you know what? Trevor told me these guys all share something, right, Trevor?
They're all Marxists, Alice. Every single one of them. That includes Joe Biden. That includes Mrs. Nice, Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota, Julian Castro. He's San Antonio communist royalty. Tulsi Gabbard. All of them are part of the Marxist movement. So it wouldn't really have mattered who got the Democratic nomination. It was going to be a Marxist. And
It's frightening.
Donald Trump Jr. said last year, he said the 2020 election would be communism versus freedom. And he got a little bit of pushback at the time. But with the events unfolding now and the backgrounds of these candidates, he was 100% right.
Do me a favor, because a lot of people that follow us, they do follow politics, but I'm not sure that everybody understands what a Marxist is. You got Marxism, communism, totalitarianism, blah, blah. Give us a favor and explain that to our audience.
Well, theoretically, it goes back to Karl Marx, the founder of the modern communist movement. And the initial Marxist thing was, it's someone who believes that that capitalism should be destroyed and wealth should be distributed equally, and we live in this classless society. The modern alliteration of that is that it's more about race now. In the old days, they would use the class struggle to destroy the capitalists. Now they use the oppressed peoples of colour to destroy the dominant culture of society. This is what critical race theory is about, white privilege. If you're white, you're automatically racist. The only way to end racism is to overthrow the white Christian capitalist patriarchy. So that's the new modern form of Marxism, and every one of those candidates buys into either one or both of those paradigms.
Wow, it blows my mind. And of course, George and I, we're Latino, we exist. And Julian, by the way, give kudos to Julian Allison, who is the owner of Central City Radio, and he happens to be black, okay? And he's a conservative, he's a Republican. So I know that these guys, they really don't like us because we're conservatives.
Well, they don't, because, if you're a person of colour, you're supposed to be a socialist. You're supposed to want the government to look after you. Like when the communists went into Ferguson, Missouri in 2014, after the killing of Mike Brown in that city, they brought 10,000 people from out of state and they burnt that city to the ground, especially the black businesses. Because you can't have prosperous black people, because that would destroy the narrative of oppression. They hate the idea of black people being upwardly mobile, Latinos doing well, sending their kids to college, making money, starting businesses. Because if you're a person of colour, you're supposed to be oppressed. And they can only do something with you. The Marxists only have a use for you if you're at the bottom of the social heap. then you can be manipulated. They can use your voting power. They can, stir you to rioting or whatever they want to do. They do not like middle class people of colour or upper class people of colour.
And to me, it's just kind of a form of putting us on a little plantation.
It is.
And that's not why 100 years ago my grandpa came over here, and most of our ancestors came, because they wanted freedom, they wanted to work and be successful and have a better life for their children. So now with all our cameras and the way to show videos, you'll have the cities are burning, and then you have a person of color come and say, "Hey, what are you doing burning my business down?" You think we have a better chance of fighting these guys?
Well, we do. Look, under Trump's policies, you were seeing a general rise of prosperity in the black communities. Latinos were doing better. Virtually all minority populations were doing better. And so more and more people were coming into the middle class. And when they start to get in the middle class, when they're prospering, they don't buy this revolutionary garbage. They don't want to defund the police and have anarchy in their communities. So this is the Democrats' last chance. They have to destroy Trump, because if they don't destroy Trump, he will create such a general level of prosperity for all Americans, their class struggle and their race antagonisms will just crumble away. So it's their last shot. They have to destroy Trump, or he destroys their agenda. That's why this election is so absolutely critical, and it's why everybody who loves America, everybody who wants a better future for their children, should be getting off their backsides and voting in this election. They've got to return the president, because if we don't, we're in for a world of grief.
Hear, hear. And I'm not meaning to be rushing, but I want to make sure we get everything that we can, because the next thing we'd like to also discuss is enemies within. I started watching, I was telling you before the show, I was watching, go to YouTube and just, look for Trevor. He's got all kinds of stuff on YouTube. And the enemies within is fascinating, because I'm a Catholic, George is Catholic, and I'll tell you real quick, Trevor, the Mass that I was going to, I kept noticing that when they have the homily, which is a sermon, all of a sudden they'd be slipping in something about gun control. One time it was about immigration, and then it was about, these little left-wing, very, very slight, but I'm like, what? And I actually asked, well, I'm not going to go into that maybe so much, but I asked one of the priests, I said, why don't we're not praying for our unborn, because Catholic Church, we were always known for pro-life. He didn't like that. He got a little upset with me for saying, we do a lot for the pro-life. And I'm like, well, I don't hear us praying for it, but address that for me.
Look, America has always had enemies right from the start, because this is the first country in the world that was established on the principle that your rights came from God, not from the government. And so ever since that time, you've had the tyrants of the world wanting to destroy this country. Because if this idea spreads, that's the end of the tyrants everywhere. And in the early 20th century, you had a big move by the communist movement into the churches of this country. They got into the mainstream Protestant churches first. The very first communist front in America was the Methodist Committee for Social Action. During the 1930s, they started to penetrate the Catholic Church. And the Catholics thought they were fine. They would not get penetrated, because what communist is going to take a lifelong vow of celibacy to become a Catholic priest? But if you listen to the testimony of Bella Dodd, she was a teachers union official back in the 30s in New York. She was a Catholic who became a communist and then went back to Catholicism. And she testified before Congress how she helped to put 1,100 young communists into the Catholic Church, into the priesthood. Many of them clearly homosexual. So you had this double whammy of left-wing influence and the homosexuality that's done so much damage to the Catholic Church. And by the time Vatican II came around in 1962, a lot of those young priests were now bishops or cardinals. They had a lot of influence. Meantime, the KGB, the Soviet KGB, dreamed up the idea of liberation theology. This was basically Marxism with a little Catholic veneer to it. And they used this to basically push communism right through Latin America and also back into the black churches in this country. Liberation theology, it's Marxism. Jesus was a revolutionary. Jesus was a socialist. Heaven is not up there. Heaven is on earth when we've got socialism. And this has gone right through the church, and Pope Francis is a perfect example of this philosophy. Back in Argentina, he boasted about how he used to wait. He couldn't wait every week till the Communist Party newspaper was delivered to his office. He used to hide Marxist literature for his communist friends from the authorities. He was a Marxist, and he's still a Marxist today. And this is causing a major schism in the Catholic Church. It could split because he is, look at the deal he did with Communist China. He went to the Communist Chinese and said, I give you authority, the Communist Party, authority over Chinese Catholics. They are not, we surrender papal authority over Chinese Catholics and give it to the Communist Party of China. And they are suppressing genuine Catholics in China right now. And so you have a Marxist Pope now. And what he is doing is he's picking the College of Cardinals. He's handpicking other leftists to go into the College of Cardinals so that when he passes on, they will pick someone just like him. This is a Marxist takeover of the Catholic Church. And I know that Catholics hate this idea. How could the Pope, the representative of God on earth, possibly be a communist? Well,
He shouldn't be.
They shouldn't be. But the devil, the communists, knew that if they wanted to conquer the world, they would have to get control of the Catholic Church. And it's taken them 100 years to do it. They got hold of the American Protestant churches in 30 years. Now they have control of the Catholic Church, and this is filtering right through into your local parishes. You'll go to a lot of Catholic churches, you'll hear nothing about abortion, you'll hear nothing about hell, you'll hear nothing about sin, but you will hear a lot about global warming, you will hear a lot about refugee resettlement, immigration, amnesty, social justice, all of these Marxist talking points, but they'll put a nice Catholic veneer over it, and the people will put in the money into the Lenten appeal, which will then go to guerrillas in Latin America or wherever it goes to. And this is a gigantic scam. Wow. And it's not going to help anybody by sugarcoating this. We got to lay it out like it is, because the fate of the Catholic Church, whether you're Catholic or not, is important to all of humanity.
Well, it is, and it's always been. We've been around for a long time. We're the original church.
Absolutely.
And when Vatican II happened, that was like major. And what I remember, because I was a little girl, I had just made my first Holy Communion, and they had, you said 1962, so they had Vatican II, but it didn't change right away because there were still a lot of traditional Catholics in the Latino family.
That's right.
I remember even we went to a very conservative church still, and you had to wear a dress, you had to wear your mantilla and do everything, and then boom, it switched and changed. And eventually people started getting kind of with it, okay, whatever, and they get,
And now, you
tolerant.
look back on those pre-Vatican II times, you think most Catholics wouldn't recognise it today. Mm. But, they make a big change, and yes, it takes a while to filter through, because you got a lot of priests are very loyal to the old way of doing things. A lot of them the Catholic Church was always traditionally militantly anti-communist. So it took a long time to subtly infiltrate the new ideas into the church. But when you've got a Marxist Pope, that's a big step down the wrong road. That is a huge step. And how we overturn that, I'm not quite sure. But the first thing is to make more Catholics aware of it, because most Catholics are still in denial about this.
There are still some very traditional Catholic churches out there, and I kind of have hope for that. And I was always skeptical when Pope Benedict was a pope, and popes never just step down. They're just about on their deathbed before they step down.
Well, that's right. That was so suspicious, and he was a good pope.
Yes, he was.
He was a traditionalist. What you would expect from a Catholic pope. That's what you'd expect. Francis is not in that mold. And look, we've seen from the the Hillary Clinton emails, the Podestas and some of the Democrats and Obama were working against Benedict. There's evidence, credible evidence that part of that, and I believe it was a coup that took Benedict out. Part of it was orchestrated from America, because the left does not want to see a traditional Catholic Church. They want to see a modern, progressive, socialist, social justice Catholic Church, because that will go along with the left-wing agenda. And that's why, as you said, you go into your own church, you say, why aren't we praying against abortion? Why aren't we acting against abortion? We're promoting all these other causes, illegal immigration, we're doing that, but we're killing babies by the tens of thousands in our own country. Why are they not doing that? Why are we not fighting that? Because the left is taken over the church, and the left is pro-abortion.
It's just so disheartening from, a lifelong Catholic. And all I can say to everybody out there, because I've kind of started a little bit of a search for a Catholic church. I'm probably not going to continue going to the one that I go now. I've been noticing it for a long time. And, it's going to take some work. And then when the China virus thing happened, then you couldn't even go to Mass. You couldn't even do that. And that's another thing, too. I don't think that was accidental.
No, look, I can go right. The China virus is a weaponized operation by the Chinese Communist Party against Trump, against the US economy, and against the US military budget. But just on the church thing, you're not going to church as a social club. You're going to church because you want to learn and grow spiritually. And if they're feeding you a little bit of poison in with the truth, that's not going to do you any good in the long term. If it's just a social club to you, well, that's fine. But I'm not sure. I'm sure you don't go to church just because it's a social club. And why would you listen to a podcast like this on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, then go to a socialist church on a Sunday?
That's right. That's so true. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, and then next, since we're kind of talking about China, we'd like to talk about the China Connection and BLM, which is not the Bureau of Land Management, but Black Lives Matter.
Okay, look. So the China virus was deliberately fostered by the Chinese Communist Party to bring down the US economy. It's a military operation, and the Democrats have bought into it because they hate Trump and China hates Trump. So they work together. But we're just starting to recover in some states from the China virus, and we get hit with all these riots. Well, we're told it's because George Floyd was killed in Minnesota, right? It's total lies. This was planned as far back as 2016. Wow. This was the people who burnt Minneapolis, the people who burnt Kenosha, the people who rioted in Tucson, Salt Lake City, Houston, most of the major cities in this country were affiliated. Well, there's two communist groups behind this. One is the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, a pro-Chinese Communist Party based in Minnesota. The leader of that group said the day that Trump was inaugurated that their job was to destroy this president by making this country ungovernable. And they were going to do this anyway. They tried to do it with the jogging case in Atlanta. When the guy who was jogging in Atlanta, the black guy, got killed by some people, they tried to start the riots then, but it didn't really fire. They tried to start it when the young woman was killed in in Louisville, Kentucky, but that didn't fire either. The George Floyd one was so out in the open and right in their headquarters, they could get the spark going. But if it hadn't been there, it would have been in Dallas the next week or Seattle the week after. It was always planned. And then the other group that did most of the riots is another pro-Chinese Communist Party called Liberation Road. They are the people who burnt Ferguson, Missouri to the ground in 2014. They are the people that gave you Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a pro-Chinese Communist Front group. The three women who started it, Alicia Garza, Opal Tometi, and Patrice Cullors. Opal Tometi is a big fan, supports Maduro in Venezuela. She is also connected to a group called the Rosa Luxemburg Foundation, a German communist group that has offices in Manhattan and was set up by former leaders of the East German Communist Party. You know, the Berlin Wall, machine guns, all that stuff. Patrice Kahlurs was mentored by a former Maoist who is an open revolutionary, and her and Gaza both have ties to the Chinese Progressive Association out of San Francisco. This is the Front for Communist China in San Francisco. It's a group that does voter registration. It's one of the most powerful groups in San Francisco. You can't get elected in San Francisco if you don't have their blessing. And the direction for Black Lives Matter is coming from people directly connected to the Chinese embassy, the Chinese consulate in San Francisco, and through this Chinese Progressive Association. This war on our cities, this mass arson, looting, murder, is done by pro-Chinese communist groups. Now, China wrecked the economy, tried to destroy Trump, tried to destroy the US military budget. Now they're trying to burn our cities. It's all timed for election year. It's all time to bring this president down. Because who does this Chinese Communist Party fear more in the world than anyone else?
Us.
President Trump. You know, look.
America's freedom.
Look, the Chinese Communist Party is about 800 families. They understand that if they do not destroy Trump, Trump is going to do to them what Reagan did to the Communist Party of the Soviet Union. And that will not be pretty in China. They will not be allowed to retire. They'll be hung from lampposts by their own people. So this is a war directed by China on the American public.
You said everything so well. We're down to our last 30 seconds. You want to give us some hope before we let you go? I can't thank you enough for coming today.
Look, it was a miracle that Trump was elected. God is not finished with this country yet. He has a great destiny for this country, just as he did with the American Revolution. George Washington was a miraculous leader, but he didn't win the revolution by himself. Donald Trump has been given to us by God, but we have to do our part, just like the American revolutionaries did their part.
Thank you, Trevor Loudon. Thank you so much. Come
Most
back again and
welcome.
see us, okay? We'll be back with more of the Chips and Salsa Show. Don't go away. Guaca.
Thank you.
Ooh, we got it all in.
Great.
Thank you so much,
Oh, it's a
Trevor.
pleasure.
That was awesome.
I'm
We're
Sure,
going
That
to
was great.
remind them of the location so they can go over there
Yeah.
and join you guys down there tonight.
So if you give me a pen, I'll sign a book
Would
to
you
each
please?
of you guys.
Oh, that'd be
and,
awesome.
wait for them.
Awesome.
yeah, whatever.
Thank you.
And this water is full.
Okay, I'll
Yeah,
take
you can
that.
take that with you so you can stay hydrated.
Take
This
another one,
heat.
too. You can take 2 of them with you that way.
Thanks for letting us go the whole time. Because there's so much to cover.
That was some heavy meat right there.
Wasn't it though?
Yeah.
Shoot, that was a steak dinner, man.
If Facebook lets that go, I'm going to be...
Well, that might be the
Surprise,
problem. Huh?
you know?
It's-
But we've got it on YouTube, on our
yeah,
YouTube channel.
It's
And you
YouTube,
have it
they
recorded,
gotta
too.
record it.
Yeah, and then we won't broadcast this one until you put that one up.
Yeah.
This will just be a backup.
Thank you so much, Trevor. I'll see you down there at the...
Support me.
It's not-
Stop it.
it's not
Actually, it doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look
Well,
too bad.
it's a
But
straightforward.
she got the light in the shot. You got the light, and then it'll go good.
Thank you.
You're
That's great.
welcome, sir.
And you,
Nice.
you were spot on all that.
Everybody needs to just follow you, Trevor. I mean, just
You
a
got it,
wealth
you
of
got it.
information.
Oh, he's gonna blow their minds away tonight. over there.
Yeah, I'll give them both barrels. Don't you believe it?
And how to speak Australian. New Zealand.
Thank you.
I tell a story at the start of my speeches. This is a true story. I was in Los Angeles and I go up to a street vendor to buy some food. And he says to me, you've got an accent. Where are you from? I said, I'm from New Zealand. And he said, well, where's that? And I said, look, it's down in the South Pacific near Australia. He said, where Arnold Schwarzenegger comes from.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness.
guys.
Thank you
Nice
so
talking to
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you coming in.
Okay, thanks, okay.
Okay,
Right.
thank you. We'll see you later.
And then I insert